Hello everybody, this is Lila in Hawaii. I was going to do a sort of a full how-to today, and it's Saturday here in Hawaii, and turns out it's going to be a busy weekend, the rest of the weekend, and I'm not going to have time to show you the full version of how to make these tassels, but I have been asked to show you how, and I'll at a future date, maybe in the new year, I'll go into it more fully, but I'll give you the idea, and I'm sure you're also clever, you just know how to do everything better than I do, and so you can figure it out yourself, but I'll show you the components and how they work. So this was the one that someone asked me to show. It's kind of a bookmark on one of my books, one of my tea-stained books, and I think it's there. I pinned it on right there onto the lace, so that's how that looks. So that was the one that people asked me to show, or that they had seen, so I'll show you how you go about, or how I go about making these up. Here's another tassel on this one, and this time I put this medallion, I call it, there. On this one, they're two separate entities. The medallion's attached there. This one, the medallion is actually, I used wire and did some wire work, and that's a little more complicated, so I won't show you I won't show you that today because I'm sort of pushed for time. But anyway, here's a journal that we made in one of my workshops that I teach, and so on the cover, as the closure, I've put, you might call it a tassel, sort of a tassel. It doesn't have the dangly part, but it is the part that will twist around and close the book. So I'll just move that out of the way because this is heavy. I've been making all kinds of things today, just finishing up items for my daughters to send. I've got to get them in the mail. Living in Hawaii, you know, we've got to mail things pretty early for it to ever reach anywhere on the mainland. So the tassel that I'm going to be showing my class tomorrow is this one. And I love these. You know, you've got to have something to attach, in my opinion anyway, to attach the tassel to. So I made these little sander ornaments, and these are for a tree. They've got a hanger on them. And so, to show you how to make the tassel, not the ornament, but the tassel, first of all you need a paper bead. So here's a paper bead there, and here's a paper bead. I made these ahead of time today, and that one I painted with some gold and a little bit of glitter. And just to recap, I'm sure you know how to make paper beads. Anyway, my method is I just take a strip of paper and I fold it till it's like that, so that this part doesn't have glue on it, because it's the glue that gives you trouble. So once I've done that, I take some glue stick and I just run it down like this, like so. I hope that's, yeah. So I run it down there like that, and then I just roll it. And I roll it as much, if the paper's longer, sometimes I want to cut it off, you know, maybe too much. But I'll just show you how I do this. Now, I don't know if you can see, but it's rolling a bit uneven. Not to worry. So once I've got it rolled onto the skewer like that, I make sure that I can freely move it. Then I either paint some of the, what is this called? Glossy accents on it, which gives it a lovely shine, and then I'll put some glitter, which I don't have out, but you know what glitter is anyway. So I usually do that while it's still on the skewer, but make sure that it will turn nicely, And then I take, if it's a little too big, I'll take and cut off that part that was sort of poking out a little bit. And just make sure that all's working well. And when I've put the glaze on and also put some glitter, I stand it up somewhere in a cup or something to dry. Just making sure that it is going to come off easily, so that's good. Okay, there we are. So that's the first component. You need one of those, and instead of this one that I just rolled, I'm going to use one that I did earlier today. And then the next thing you need is the tassel part of it. And I'm not going to take time to, unfortunately, I don't have time to do the whole tassel, but you take a piece of cardboard, and here's some tassels that I've already made. In there's a bunch of them. Let me see if you can see that. Like here's one that's on a button. And let's see, here's one that's on one of these. These are tassels already made. And this one, let's see if I have one that's not hooked to anything. Okay, so this is one that I can probably show you better. This one's not attached to anything yet. So my formula is, I take a piece of cardboard, and it's about, this should be about 2.5 to 3 inches here. And that depends on you, of course. I usually make it that width. And then I take 3 meters or 3 yards of some sort of twine. I'll mix them up. So I'll take one of this, say, and I put them all together. And I'm only going to show you with 2, but I take 3. So I take 3 yards or meters of twine. And my way of doing the tassel is I have a little slit cut here, and that goes there. So that holds it, and then I wrap, and I'm holding the 3 strands. Pretend it's 3 strands, it's only 2. And I wrap around, and then I put some extra twine through there to hold it together, and then pull it off. So it'll be looking like this with the hanging part here. And then I'll also wrap a part around here for the head. In other words, this will be what you've got. So here's the part that was hanging. This was the part from the hanging part where I wrapped it around first. There's the second wrap there. So I've already prepared some of those. I had them prepared for another occasion. So here we go. So here's one prepared. And now, of course, what do I have to do? I have to get this onto the paper bead. And okay, so I've got a nice paper bead already made there. And I found that it's easier to thread these. These are the original hanger. It's easier to thread on a needle, so I've done that. And I push it through. I think actually this is a little bit too big here. Oops, almost cut my finger. Okay, so I'm going to thread that through. Because if you try and thread it through without the needle, sometimes one thread will go through and the other won't, or something. It gets a bit messed up. Okay, so I've threaded it through, so now what have I got? I've got the paper bead, I've got the tassel, and here's the paper bead. And now I've got to make an overhand knot, which I'm going to do right at the top. I usually do, 1 or 2 depending. Try and make them fairly big so that that sort of is like a holder. Now, in some of those that I showed you, I put a bead, a little small bead there, and a little one there on either end of the paper bead. I'm not going to do that because that's not the way I did this. So this, here's one already done. So there's the tassel I just showed you. There's the paper bead, and I've threaded it through. So now I've got two pieces here, and I separate those because it was double, and I thread it through the needle, back through the needle, and well, I'll thread it back through the needle, but that's not going to help because I'm not going to complete it. But I will put it back through the needle and just point. I'm just taking one strand, not two, so it's one strand here, one of those strands, and I'm going to then, to make this little ornament, what I did was I took, of course, here's the way I've prepared the ornament, Santas, and they're not cut out yet, but I put them onto the back of a cereal box or something like that, and then I glazed them with glossy accents, painted the back to coordinate, so at least it looks nice on each side. And of course you could put glitter. So those are going for a class tomorrow. So when I've got this little bit arranged, I want to make the hanging part. So I choose a part where it'll be sort of unobtrusive in a way. I don't want it to be falling over the body of the ornament, so I try and keep it to the outside. So in this one, which I'm not going to do, I would probably pierce it about there with one strand threaded, and then I'll take it out and I'll tie a double knot, and it'll be like this. You see on the back how it's double knot? And I often put a little dab of glue. I didn't in this case. Then I also decorate the top of the ornament. I found just the hat is all. And I had a mixture of sequins and little beads that I put on here. And I found some bigger sequins that I didn't know I had. And I thought, oh, those will be nice. I haven't used these yet, but I didn't know that I had them in an old box. And so, probably a bit easier to work with these. Very old. They're like paillettes, these ones. So, in this case, oh dear, I could put this on the top. I could put one, or maybe two, and then some seed beads, because I do have that mixture. Anyway, that's for the decoration of the hat only. And then for the hanger, I just took some thin twine and I poked another hole somewhere near the top where it would, and I checked to make sure it's going to hang nicely. So here's this, the way this would hang. So I made sure, I did a little test run by just sort of holding it to make sure. I don't want this to flop over there particularly. So I did, each one I did, as I said, a little test run. I have some old linen thread that I use for that. And so when I hang that, you see it'll hang like that. And these are some that have to be finished tomorrow. So that's how I do some of my tassels, and also some of the uses for the tassels. And of course, on some of them you may have noticed that I put one of my flowers, my, let me see a color. Well, for example, that at the top of the tassel. I think I did that, oh, I did it on something else. Anyway, sometimes I'll attach the tassel like this to one of these paper flowers that I make, and I can also wrap it around. I'm all fingers and thumbs today. I can wrap it around the brad also and hold it in place like that. And that looks really cool too. So that's just another way to take care of it. And here's another one that I could use that I already threaded this one as well. I've threaded this onto some, I used just, what did I use? I think I used just crochet cotton for this one. They look better if you use some yarn, because it, like crochet yarn or a wool yarn, because it flares out more, it looks nicer. So that's some of the components for that. And some of the uses, not all the uses. I use tassels a lot in a lot of things, and just to keep everything together, I have my box of making. So these are the bits, that I'm going to use to make those medallions. And I cut these pictures from old books, old French books, and on the back there's some French text. And then, as I say, I'll go ahead and add a tassel to them. So that, with that in mind, I've either punched a hole at the top, or I've punched, in other words, I use either the top or the bottom for the hole punch, or both. And I'll put everything together. Oh my gosh. So I usually like to make some that are like tea stained looking. So these are old book pages that was tea stained, and they make nice beads. And when you've got the glossy accents on them and a little bit of gold paint, they really look nice. They look like, if they're like this almost looks like it's pottery or something. So this is where I keep those little bits. These are to be finished. They're UFOs, not finished yet. So I hope that was a little bit of help, because I know I had said I would do that, and it just has taken me quite a while to get to it with other commitments I had. And I'm going to be going away for a vacation. Part of my recuperation, you might say, going up to the north part of this island. I live on the island of Oahu, and so I'm going to be going up there with one of my daughters to stay at the beach for a few days to help with my rehabilitation, my recovery. Anyway, thanks, and if I don't talk to you again, happy holidays. I mean, again, I'll talk to you again, hopefully. But happy holidays anyway. Till then, goodbye for now.